the background to why I'm here is there was a lunch and learn in October where the Fantasy Premier League dashboard competition was announced, and ultimately I entered this bad boy and won. I can imagine what people are thinking. How did I enter this and win? I can't answer that, but I can tell you my approach to putting this report together. And I guess first of all, luckily, I'm passionate about football and data and problem solving. So generally, I find that if you're passionate about something, you are likely to deliver something that's reasonably good. And the first thing I wanted to do was clearly define what my objective was. And we've been given access to these Excel spreadsheets on the Fantasy Overlord website, and each week one of these CSVs is uploaded to the website, which got every player, position, team, cost, points, and numerous other variables around their performance. And there's quite a lot going on here, and so for me, I defined the objective to be, I want to build a report in Power BI that users can easily consume that data and then make use of it to choose their dream team players. And with that in mind, I wanted to understand who my audience were, because I had to design it appropriately. And just looking around my friends, family, colleagues, it was made up of plumbers, accountants, carpenters, electricians, lawyers, a versatile range of customers essentially. And so not knowing the only one thing I knew they had in common was football and the Premier League Fantasy Dream Team. So I thought sticking to tables, although is pretty basic, would be a good choice, because everybody that I'm targeting can understand them. And then I just wanted to keep the design very, very simple, but I wanted to have something engaging about it and easy to navigate, because ultimately I wanted this to be accessible on a mobile phone, so you could just point and click and navigate through the report and back to the starting point without getting too lost in it. So once I kind of thought about how I was going to approach this, I started to work on the player data. So I click this button. You can look at the player data for the season, the current season this is, by their club or their playing position. We'll take Crystal Palace here, and we can see very simple layout, hopefully easy to digest. The players are listed and sorted by their total points to date, what their position is, their cost, points last week, and then the forecast points for the next 5 fixtures per the Fantasy Overlord website. And if you're restricted on budget, you can filter down to costs. You can choose specific positions, and you can do that for any of the clubs. You can also do that on player position. So I want to keep the layout fairly consistent, and you've got the club badges here where you can filter the club for each position. And that was the original kind of basis of what I was building out, and it was actually very simple and easy or quick to get this together. And I'll quickly show you in my Power BI model here that I utilized bookmarks heavily, because once I had designed the player analysis for one club, I would then just save a bookmark, change the filter, and then save another bookmark. Very, very simple, and takes a lot of heavy lifting out of the process. And then if I click back, and then each of the bookmarks are assigned to one of these tiles, which has got the club badge in it. So very, very, very easy. I guess one of the other things which might be quite interesting for people is how I got the club badges as a filter within a table. And what I did is on my dimension table for teams is I went and got the badge, the club badge URL from the Premier League website, and I just pasted it in for each of the clubs. And then I saved that data category as an image URL. So then on the canvas, if I populate a table with that particular field, here, badge URL, it actually displays the badge, which you can then filter, which I thought was quite nice. So back to, yeah, so navigation. You click a badge. Oh, Brighton, oh dear. You can look at your player data, click back, pick another team, another position, click back. So very simple to move around. So then I started to think about, what other data information would people like to utilize to help them choose their players. So value for money, just looking at how many points have been earned in total per £1 million spent, and then the average points. Again, you can filter with these URLs, and then just adding £50 note images just to make it a bit more fun, I thought. Then we have the who's hot, who's not section. And this just analyzes various data points from, who's in form. What else we got? Goals scored, clean sheets. And then most cards. I mean, again, adding these little visuals for a bit of fun. We can see, wow, 5 yellow cards already. Outrageous. So just keeping it kind of light-hearted and fun, that hopefully people will enjoy. Then Wisdom of the Crowd, I thought was quite an important table where you can see all players' net transfers from the last round. So you can see the other participants in the fantasy football, who they're putting into their team. So you can either follow the crowd, go against the crowd. You can see which teams' players are being moved in and out of people's selections. And that was pretty much it. Up until this point, I've simply arranged data that I've pulled from another source, and I've presented it in a report. But I wanted to add a value add element. And so if we push the big gold button, boom, we have the analysis machine recommendations. And what I've tried to do here is for each playing position, I try to develop my own ranking to recommend players for you to choose. At the moment, it's based on recent form, the future fixture forecast. I think it's for one game. I didn't want to do 5 games because a lot can change between now and 5 fixtures later. So it's looking at, how well they're performing currently, how they're expected to perform in their next game, and their total points per £1 million of cost. So we're taking into consideration people's budgets and how much they have to spend. And this is what happened in week, where is it? Here. This is what happened. So week 11 recommendations, here they are. And then the week 12 kings of the game, we managed to get 3 recommendations in these different positions. And to be fair, if I was choosing my team myself, there's obviously bias involved. Using the data like Martinez, Bednarek, I probably wouldn't have chosen them. And so from these 3 players, if you put them in, you would have got 36 points. And if you had your standard Kanes and Sons, and you might have racked up a few points. But yeah, it's to be improved. And so what I've been working on currently is looking at the actual player data from the Fantasy Overlord website, because there's years of it from 2016, looking at the points scored by the players, and for each week what the Overlord prediction was, and then I can pull the historic data into my model, and I can run my recommendation each week on the current logic. And I'd want to analyze the accuracy of the Overlord prediction, mine, against how the points were scored, just out of interest to see, if anybody is accurate at all. And then I've started to do a bit of machine learning, and I'm moving into that kind of arena. I want to see which features, whether it's points scored from the last round, current form, assists, goals scored, conceded cards, price rise, falls, transfers in, out, minutes played, opponent, home and away, which of these features might influence the actual points scored in the next round by analysing the historic data. So it might not be player specific, it's feature specific against the points that they scored, to see if there's any trends. And in America and in India, there's an NFL and handball analysis has been carried out using artificial neural networks with a long short-term memory to predict the value, which can be impacted by multiple different features. So it's exactly the same concept as this. So I've been looking at some of these projects that they've been doing, looking at the code, and hopefully develop this recommendation to become a bit more accurate. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, so please add me if you would like to connect and possibly collaborate, or give me a job. That'd be useful. And spread the word about these groups and the Power BI community, because there's a few people organizing them and sponsoring them, and there's lots of people out there that don't know about it. So everybody that's here or watching the video, it would be useful to start spreading the word.
Brilliant, James, thanks very much. So again, you, much like Jamie before you, starting to look at specific features and trying to understand which set of features, which set of circumstances in the past have resulted in performance, because that's ultimately what we're measuring here, and then trying to see if that's going to predict into the future, in a way that's not playing the stock market, but rather something less ambitious, winning or at least being up there in the fantasy football league.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that I don't really get to utilize these concepts or algorithms in my day job, and it's projects like this, and obviously having a passion for football and the Dream Team, you can start to develop them and apply them to something that you're interested in, as opposed to out of context, just through learning. Yeah. And I'll be interested to see if there is any trend in any of those features that can help you predict their performance in the next game, because I have noticed that a lot of players, they peak and then there's a regression to the mean. So if they're on the way up, it's probably best to start getting them out the team, because they're about to drop in form. So much like the stock market, you want to get out whilst it's on the way up rather than on its way down, which is when most people will get out. The difficulty in of course understanding where the bottom or the top is in any market is the interesting piece, isn't it? Exactly. And so it's very basic, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to share the approach.
No, it was good. Thank you. So I had a couple of other comments. Of course, it's all good until what did Jamie called it? Is he in or is he out? You have no opportunity to understand. Is Son going to be playing next week? Or he probably will. But if you look at all of the good teams, then of course we've all got a massive, or any, the squad of Liverpool, I don't know, is 30, 40, 50 people. And yeah, you might have a core 5 or 6, but simply with the number of games teams are playing, then the rotation is a factor. Of course, you have no ability to understand or predict that, do you?
No, you don't. And I think some of the players, like let's say in the bigger clubs, they might be on the rotation, but you've got some of these little gem players like for Southampton or Brighton, perhaps, they generally don't get rotated and they just seem to be hitting form. So you can kind of have them for like short term, week on week because you get one transfer a week, and then you can have these bigger players for the longevity of a season who are pretty much guaranteed to clock up a load of points. But to that point, one thing that I would like to add into it is injuries and suspensions, because they're not covered in here. And
yeah.
I don't think that's in the data set that I'm linked to on the Overlord website.
Yeah, interesting. The other point I've made is I was when we looked at all of the Power BI fantasy football entries, one of the things that stood out about yours was just we didn't in truth we didn't go and spend hours looking into the model and what smart things you might have done. We kind of just took it that you had a data set because we'd given you those. It was kind of how you presented it, the backgrounds, the usability, because ultimately, as anybody's heard me chat about this, you can produce the best statistics in the world, but if you present them in a way that is unappealing, then nobody's going to bother looking at your report. Yeah. And it's all, it's almost like the headlines catch it. It's about having a report that presents good data, valuable data, but it presents it in a way that draws the user in and is engaging with the user. And your Power BI report happily contained tons of that.
And it's live and it gets refreshed every Tuesday morning.
So. Well, all we need is the public link to it then.
So thank you very much.